Go, Doug.
Going okay, how about you? Richard's still stuck in very duty.
Yep, that's what Scott was saying. Yeah, he got selected, so he's on his way, but Scott's gonna lead off for us.
Unfortunately, you're stuck with me from the beginning anyway.
Really pitching.
Good, Suzanne. Hey, Suzanne, I was down at the, walking the dog early yesterday morning. I'm walking around. Don't do that much. Absolutely. Only looks good, they already did just sitting. It's like a honor. That's all. Yeah.
So you're leaving town?
Sorry?
You're leaving town?
Yeah. So that's what you
Yeah.
There's some over here.
Let me call the meeting to order here. This is the public hearing to discuss the budget. People, we usually have a sign-up sheet, but that's not going to be the case tonight. Oh, you do have one? Okay, well, that's fine then. I didn't think you were going to have that. Right now, we've got, so the agenda is that we're going to go ahead and we'll have a call for the public. We will have the chair will go ahead and let people come up and speak. Those that have signed up. And even if you haven't signed up after these 7 have spoken, then if you wish to come, please raise your hand. I'll recognize you can come up. Then we will go ahead and then discuss the budget here on the board. And then we'll be going into a closed session for personnel reasons. So first to speak would be Anthony Sola.
Should be a public hearing. Yeah, I think we should, yeah.
Mayor, so should we open the public hearing first?
Excuse me.
Should we open the public hearing?
Yeah, let's go ahead and have a motion to open up the public hearing.
Actually, thought we were having
Sure.
a presentation first. Is that incorrect?
That was not what I had on here, but are you ready for a presentation or not?
I am if that's what council would prefer.
Let's do that. Sorry, Anthony. I'll call you in a second then. All right, let's go ahead and have a presentation.
Okay, in Mr. Hicks' absence, unfortunately, he has been called to perform his civic duty. So you all are stuck with me in his stead.
We're grateful to have you here.
Well, thank you very much. Let's see. And I think none of this should be surprising to any of you all as we've been going through the budget meetings. You have your projected revenues of just over 12 million, your requested expenditures of 13,885, and which creates a shortfall of just about 1.858 million. That's in the general fund. In the water fund, The projected revenues are 2.399. The requested expenditures are 3.318. And next slide, you see the contributing factors. Of course, we all know significant fuel cost increases, high inflation, tipping fees, the wholesale water rates from the city of Asheville, pressure to maintain competitive salaries, increases in employee health coverage, increases in employee retirement costs, increases in property and casualty and workers' comp insurance, increases due to deferred maintenance on facilities, increases due on costs due on aging equipment. So the suggested adjustments eliminate 5 full-time positions. 1-year freeze on vacant police officer position. 1-year freeze on vacant public works position, which half that comes from the general fund. Transfer funds back to general fund from the Helene fund. Change town policies on absorbing credit card fees. And then on staff to identify 124,000 additional savings prior to July 31. Defer the update on the Buncombe County CAD update until 27-28.
I'm gonna add a note about that in case that's not terminology that folks are familiar with in the room. This is software that allows our police department to communicate with the rest of Buncombe County when there are calls. This is not something that we had a direct decision on, but that upfront cost to set that up has been delayed by a year.
Further adjustments in revenues, increase the greens fees for the golf course by an average of $7 per round. You see the figures that would projected to bring in. Increase solid waste fees by $3.50 per month. Increase property tax, which I'm sure most folks will be interested in, from 0.312 to 0.341, which is projected to bring in an extra $526,691.
Scott, before you move along,
Yes, sir.
I believe it was it the employee retirement costs that you shared that increase, or was it the health coverage that you listed out as one of the things that we have no control over because we are committed to make the commitment to the retirement fund.
It's actually both.
So,
Yes, sir.
could you make a comment about those increases?
Well,
Really about our locked in situation.
yes, sir. I guess several years ago, the town chose to sign in with the state employees health system, which at the time was certainly the right thing to do and may still be. But it's sort of the thing that once you're in, it's very difficult to extricate yourself from. So if we wanted to go back out onto the open market, I'm not sure that's actually an option right now. So you're sort of set in where you are.
And those cost increase were
I'm not sure what
Double digit.
it was a good amount, yes, sir. And the same for, as you were saying, the other, it's the retirement system. If you want to recruit and retain employees, you pretty much have to be a part of the state retirement plan. And locally, you really have no control over what those rates are going to be set at, what the contribution amount that the employer.
it's a defined.
It's a defined benefit plan. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Would you go ahead and make sure that the board has those figures within the next week. That is the exact cost that we're having to pay, the increase in cost in the state health employee, and then also on the retirement side.
I believe that's on page 3 in our
I believe.
binders, yeah.
The state retirement plan, I remember when I first started in the business, it was like 7.5% was the employer contribution rate, and now I believe it's something close to 22%.
That's what I was thinking, 22. Yeah.
Okay, so then it also says the town will not know the actual increase until November, or December of 26.
Yeah, that typically changes in January, which makes our budget season a little interesting to predict.
Health insurance 10%, retirement 22% cost increase.
That, well, not
Contribution.
increase, but the total contribution for
Yeah.
the retirement system is about 22%.
Yeah.
Of course, the employee contributes a certain amount
Right.
themselves, but
Right.
Scott, I'd also like to make a note about the property tax. What we have listed here, what you have listed here is with the old, old property values.
that is correct, yes, sir.
Everyone received a letter a couple months ago with new property revaluation, their statement, and some of us saw significant increases in that. The state, House and Senate has decided to postpone the implementation of those new rates for another year. So we are going off of the old rates.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
And that, I think it still needs to be signed by the governor, which, so that may not happen, but we're predicting that it will be, and planning for that.
We are trying to budget the most conservative that we can, assuming that that will pass.
Do you know that, because a number of municipalities have already passed budgets based on the new rates, do you know what happens? Do they?
I do not, and I'm thankful that I don't have to.
And
Fair.
the moratorium only applies to, it doesn't apply to the county and state.
Correct.
Are we the only one in Western North Carolina? I think we might be.
I'm gonna say there's some other large metro areas that are being impacted.
I think,
But that's across the state, but for.
it depends on which counties are doing reeval
Mhm.
this year. My sister lives down in Pender County,
Right.
and they are affected. I think,
Guilford is.
Guilford, yeah, I've seen that on the local news down where I live, which is Greensboro.
Mhm.
They are affected. But how many exactly, or if there are any more around here,
Some at the.
I can't speak to that.
But I think some of them were handpicked for the increases that they were reflecting.
Well, as I understand, counties are only required to do reevaluations every 8 years.
Right.
Yeah.
But most do them more often than that.
Right.
And I'm honestly a
Yeah, Buncombe has historically done 4.
four.
This one is actually 5 years. Since the last one, it was delayed because of Helene, just not realistic to get that done.
And
Sticker shock, sure, is what we're trying to avoid.
just one more note, if for some reason the governor vetoes it and that veto is not overridden, then these numbers would be adjusted down.
I would assume so. Of course, timing is everything. We have to have the budget adopted by June 30. So how exactly the mechanism for adjusting it back or forward, I'm not sure exactly how that would work.
Richard seemed confident he could write into the proposal kind of
Okay.
contingency, but maybe when he gets here, we can get clarity about that.
It's the same adjustment we made here. We were going with the revalues and then the change. So we're just doing the amendment and change back. It's the same amount of money.
So the amount of money is going to remain the same. It
Correct.
is the tax rate that will be changing.
That's what's being proposed.
Yes. Yes, sir. That's correct. Continue on with the budget adjustments on expenditures in the water fund. That would include eliminate one full-time position. 1 year freeze on public works position. Again, that's half out of the water, half of general fund. Change policies on absorbing credit card fees. Delay the promissory note on the lead and copper loan, which we discussed at our last meeting, until 27-28. And then work to identify additional 20,000 savings by July 31.
But we'll make, we'll make a comment about the lead and copper. Loans and, tax interest-free loan, but payback and so forth, and the cost of that. Really mandated, action that we have to foot, but do have some money that came in for it. That we have to pay back.
Yeah, yes, sir, that's exactly right. As I mentioned at our last meeting, the town and, well, every public water system is required to perform tests to see if they're to identify any lead or copper service lines to individual residences. And the cost of doing that has been covered via loan from the state revolving fund, which is from the Department of Environmental Quality, but that is a loan. It is not a grant. And the amount of 500,000 that we have secured will pay for approximately 1/3 of your service line connection.
And that is merely to get the information on the material that the service lines are made of. It does not replace the lines. But we are staying on track with what the federal government is requiring at the pace and timeframe that they're requiring.
Yes, that is correct.
And the way that this is done is that we contract out with a company to come in and at the meter, they will dig on the city side and see what that pipe is made of. And then they will dig on the customer side of that and see what that is.
That is
And
correct.
we have approximately 4,200 customers. So this $500,000 would only do roughly 1,500 of that.
That is correct.
And so, and then also too, we just need to, we're delaying a promissory note. So that means we're going to be paying probably close to $90,000 in next year's budget that we're not in this year. So starting off the bat, even before we start this budget, we've already got a $90,000 shortfall for the next year.
One comment about the water fund and the increased expenses with the water. We currently use about 60 to 70% of our water comes from the city of Asheville. The city of Asheville has proposed an increase of 32% on their bulk water rate that we have to absorb here. And unfortunately, that's a big part of the shortfall in the water fund.
Yes, sir, I think that is accurate.
It is worth mentioning in the water fund, the analysis that Richard did for us, because we asked for the incremental cost of buying water from the city of Asheville versus our production in wells, and of course, as we treated it instead of them. And it was a much narrower difference than I think a good many people would think. And so much so that there's a difference, and there's a little. The analysis was that it was a little more expensive to purchase the water, but it was not overwhelmingly different. It was maybe for all of our purchase, something like $60,000 difference.
Yes, sir.
Something like
I
that.
think you're right. It was not a.
And that would also
Substantial.
answer for those of the public who are aware that over the years, do we have 14 wells?
No,
Maybe we have
we have 8 wells up at Rid.
Hey, have 8 wells, but we have drilled, and we haven't been fortunate enough to have a good productive well. And some of our drilling, that's when we got more from the city of Asheville. But if we could produce more, that would be, I certainly don't see a downside to it.
Well, we can produce more immediately if we just simply turn on 2 wells that were turned off in August of 2023. One was claimed that there was contamination, and that was because of a chemical called 2,4-D. That is a strong Roundup type herbicide. And the results on that was 0.000. That's 3 zeros and a 7. The allowable limits in the state is 0.07. So we were not given correct information on that. So that well could be opened back up. The well on number 17 was not contaminated and it was shut down. So between those 2 wells, we can increase our production by 20%, but we just have to do it and get that up there. Part of the reason why this figure that Larry's talking about was a little bit, the amount that it's going to cost us to operate this has to do with the fact that we pay a company $66,000 a year just for consulting. We need to have somebody, an engineer outside, so that we have a major problem, we can talk to them. That, I think, needs to go out for bid. And so we could eliminate pretty close to $50,000. I think you could get somebody for $10,000 to $15,000 just to be a consultant for that. So those are some of the in the grass deals that affect the cost of water. But overall, as Doug was saying, the water, Asheville is increasing their rate by 32%. So that's a pretty big hit.
Well, that's this year.
That's this year because it's going to be 2 more years.
You're exceeding
2 years in a row.
3 years.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, just continuing, the adjustments on revenues for the water fund that are proposed is increasing the base rate from $6.14 per month to $13.14. And we discussed that at our last workshop. You know, that more affects folks who are not necessarily full-time residents. And I don't know how far we want to get down that rabbit hole at this point, what affects who, but, and to increase the usage rate by 18 cents per 100. So like that sort of spreading the burden among all of our users. I feel personally that the base rate, you have a cost built in to provide that water to that residents, to that business, to whatever. The line is in the ground. If something happens to it, you're going to have to fix it. And if they're not actually using the water, it makes no difference. You have to be there to be relied upon to perform that duty. So I think that's fair. Okay, moving on to the fire department. The total proposed is 3,871,304. Buncombe County, as we've discussed, pays approximately 41% of that, 1.587. Other revenues of 119, which leaves the town at 2.164,470. And again, as we've discussed in our workshops, we're trying to deal with the salary competitiveness, which the adjustments we are proposing would increase the budget by about 264,720, increasing the firefighters and engineers by 10,000 per, and the lieutenants by 5,000, and all others by 3%.
Might want to, if I say this correctly, Scott, regarding county appropriation, just a reminder, those in the public probably saw it in the paper, but the county went to a unified fire district. And so, So if you're in a fire district that is not in a municipality, of course, that the county puts the bill and you pay a 11 point something tax, and that's at the county rate, so it's a good bit of money. For fire protection, we are allocated, and it's based on calls that the fire department makes within the city limits and out in the remaining eastern fire district. Our allocation of a dollar in the proposed budget, we pay 59 cents and the county pays 41 cents.
Correct.
And we utilized almost all of our allocated, the money that the county allocated to us. So it's, in that sense, it's pretty efficient budget, but it's important to note that we're not putting the entire bill. The county does, and if the call shifted, that contribution to our fire fund shift as well.
Yes, sir. That's an excellent point. Thank you.
Comments anymore?
That's all.
Richard, you got some comments you would like to make about the budget there?
I'm not. Guess who got picked for jury?
If that's all.
All right,
Chair,
that's
I'll
it.
open
Yep,
this up
we will
for-
then start the citizen comment now.
I'd like to move that we open the public hearing.
So moved.
All right, come on up, Anthony.
Sure.
Go.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Evening. I'm Tony Sola, and my wife and I live up in the Settings. I'm also the president of the board of the Settings, but I'm not here in that capacity. All my comments are just my personal point of view on this. So obviously, with a almost $1.9 million budget deficit, there have to be serious discussions about where to cut and raising taxes, neither of which are popular, but obviously necessary. In terms of where you make the cuts, though, where you make the revenue increases, that's the obvious important issue. So my first point is that there should be no cuts to the fire and police departments. There should be no cuts to them. They provide essential services, and their pay has to be competitive as well. Anything less puts the community at risk. And if something bad happens, and we all know it can, we would be in a situation where we were being penny wise and pound foolish. So in the strongest terms, I argue and offer and suggest that we not make any cuts to the fire and police department, but keep them fully staffed. Second point is a recommendation for your consideration. There are many residents in this community, Black Mountain, with extensive experience in finance, budgeting, construction, etc. And I would suggest you consider tapping into that resource and form a volunteer committee to consult with you and advise you on budget and on also designing, constructing a new building for our presently homeless fire and police department. I think you would have some information and some expertise that might be valuable to you, and it would be volunteer on a volunteer basis, of course. Next, in terms of revenues, looking at the documents that were provided, one that jumps off the page is the sanitation numbers, where the cost is about 3 times higher than the revenues. And while in the present budget, you're increasing it, the service for the fees for that, it's not sufficient still. So in 3 main areas, sanitation, water services, and green fees, I would suggest to you that you should consider over the short term raising all those fees so that the revenues cover 100% of the cost of those services. That way, of course, the people who are using those services are the ones who bear the cost, and then you're not using money out of your general fund for those items. With respect to the water, by the way, the proposal was to increase the base cost about 100%, actually more than 100%. And the usage charge would go up, but not that much. I think increasing the base cost over 100% puts an unfair burden on those who are financially not in as good a position. And I would suggest that you not raise the base as much, but increase the usage more, fee more. The net result would be the same total revenue coming in, but it would be more fairly adjusted to those who are using it and not in, having a negative impact on lower income families. Finally, while no one likes tax increases, they are necessary. And the proposed increase by the town manager is probably the least which must be done to keep and maintain the character and quality of life of Black Mountain. Recognize fully you've got a difficult job with this financial crisis and this budget. But I think that hopefully you will consider what I said about not cutting the essential services and making some changes to the way you increase the revenues to cover this deficit. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tony. Next up is Glenn Retchen.
Hello, I'm Glenn Recty, so live in the settings, and this is going to sound a whole lot like what Tony just said. But basically, I've had an over 10-year experience with both the police and fire department here, having moved from big cities like Dallas and Tampa, San Diego, various places, and expected to find a little Keystone Cop police department and found just the opposite. This is a highly skilled police department, fire department as well. And I again reiterate, we need to keep them in that level of service. These folks can't be cut. Morale is low because they're homeless. It's stressful, being short-staffed. They're having trouble maintaining patrol. They're working overtime without being paid for overtime, having only comp time. And when you're getting comp time and you can't take time off, comp time is worthless. So we've got to do something to take care of them. I agree that I don't understand why water, the trash, and the golf course are being subsidized by tax dollars. Those should be paid straight up, however you want to do it. So it's a zero-sum budget. Whatever costs, that's what you charge. And you're only charging a third for the trash and only raising it $3. That's ridiculous. And I look, the county charge for trash if you live outside of the municipality is $29 a month, which is roughly what it costs us. Why aren't we charging that? Again, everybody knows prices are going up, taxes are going to go up. Don't argue with that. We need the increased revenue to do this. And I also agree with the suggestion, I thought it was genius, to put together a group of experts from the community to help look at this police, fire, home situation and give you guys an opinion from experts who are living in the community, have a vested interest in this, and have the time to do the research for it. So thank you.
Thank you. Leanne Cunningham.
Mr. Mayor, Town Council, thank you so much for wrestling with this budget. You're doing better than the state of North Carolina. At least we have one. So it may not be what we want to see, but it is there. And I appreciate your attempt to address all of our needs. And one need that's been stated a couple of times already is the salaries of the firefighters. And you know that it's going to be difficult to keep them if we do not pay what Buncombe County pays. And that's just a fact of life. That's how people are. And if we don't increase the pay to be comparable to that, we will lose good, well-trained professionals. And it'll be hard to recruit and keep new ones. We could be shorthanded. And you know what happened in 1912. So we don't want that to happen again, a big fire, burn up our neighborhoods. The if it's in a forested area, we can't count on the Forest Service to send firefighters. They've been cut drastically as well. And I realize that there's so much lacking, so much funding lacking. Is there a way to perhaps do some lobbying with the state of North Carolina, since they don't have a budget, put us in it? They do things for towns and cities and municipalities all over the state. They can write something to help us overcome our shortfall. And sometimes you need a little hand up like that. And that's the only suggestion I could think of. But, you know, I do realize, and I am very grateful for all the hard work you've all done to try to protect our services and our people who work for the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. Next up, Don Collins.
Evening, board, mayor. Don Collins, 80 Camp Ranch Road. I come to specifically talk about your proposed garbage tax. Just give the town and this new board a little history lesson. We've had several boards in the past that have run the town in debt. And then they come up with all kinds of ideas like annexing folks that weren't paying any Black Mountain taxes, but were told when we were annexed that we were going to get free garbage pickup. That was one of the benefits that we were going to get. And then just next board comes in, and next thing you know, they want to start charging garbage tax. Well, that's one of the reasons I ran, is because I didn't like the way the town board was being run, because it was the laughing stock of Western North Carolina. People were watching Black Mountain board meetings, and they started using them at the Institute of Government as to how not to have a meeting. It was pathetic and silly. So I decided to run, and one of the first things that we did, the board that I served with, is we gave the 10 employees a cost of living increase, which is the first ones they'd had in years. But one of the things we didn't do is there was an alderman stipend that was increased also, we're going to be increased. And we put a stop to that and said, no, just the actual town employees are going to get that cost of living, not across the board. That been giving ourselves a raise too. So we stopped that from happening. And then what I served on was with Larry and Mike Sobel and Ryan Stone. We went through a lot of budget meetings like y'all going through now, making tough decisions. And one of those budget meetings, Ryan Stone, we were getting really close to needing to hire another person down in Public Works. And Ryan made the suggestion, and it was voted on unanimously by the board, to end our stipend and use that money to hire that person to balance the budget out. And at that time, it voted unanimously. Like I said, the only person that was opposed to it didn't show displeasure was the current then mayor. And that's when I decided I was going to run for mayor then the next year. And it may have something to do why the entire board come out publicly endorsed me. So garbage tax is not right, fellas. You're already getting a lot more money from our taxes from the annexation that the town went into debt and they solved their problem by just annexing. Well, thanks the good Lord, Raleigh stopped all that because that was following Asheville's pattern. Asheville did that for many years. They spend more money than what they had, and they said, well, we can balance the budget, we'll just take in another mile, make the city limits bigger, and that's basically what the town of Black Mountain did. But they told us we were gonna get free garbage pickup for our taxes. The second vote that we made after I was elected was we got rid of the garbage tax that the previous board had approved. And I just hope and pray you guys don't go down that road. Honor what was told the folks that have been annexed into this town. No, you Doug, you think that we ran too tight a ship in previous board? You will see now, I'm sure, as to why we did. If you don't do it and work on it little by little and watch every dime you spend, next thing you know, it balloons up. And I know there's been some comments made about Mayor Sobel, and all I can say is this. He looks at the little things, but he looks at the big things too. And I applaud him for that, because if you're not looking at the little ones, you're gonna miss the big ones too. Somebody on this board needs to look at each and every budget. My board and I, we made a difference in this town of $7.3 million. I'm hearing that y'all are gonna be coming up like $2 million short. But we made that difference in the town and community, not just the town. We had less debt, more money in the bank. And we did things like the town square, for example. One of the aldermen who took us in was put on the town square steering committee. And I thought I was making headway when one of the ladies on the committee said something about the town debt. And he replied back to her, said, I don't think the town debt should be mentioned. The town's on the hook for it, so let it rest. I know there's 3 of you don't feel that way on this board. I'm not sure about the rest of you. But the town square got developed. They came behind this steering committee's back and requested $300-some thousand to develop the town square. Well, thank goodness for Tim Rayburn and Carlos Showers. That got voted down. And what's up there now, the parking lot, the bathrooms, every piece of development that was done, it cost the town taxpayer 1 penny. So it can be done through some just people that set a goal not to get into the town checkbook. We've done it several times, the board I served with. But I'd like to just ask you to respect what your previous boards in the past, when they took us into city limits, they said, oh, we're gonna get free garbage pickup. And I heard on the news the other day, our town manager said that was one of the ways that they could make the budget up, difference shortfall. It's not right, folks. It's one, besides giving the town employees a cost of living increase, that was the next thing in the first meeting I served in, we got rid of it. Very unpopular, especially the people who were annexed in and said, yeah, for all these doubling taxes that you're gonna pay between county and town now, you're gonna get free garbage pickup. Honor what the town told us. I thank y'all.
Thank you, Don. Next up is Kathy Phillips.
Kathy Phillips, Highview Drive. Y'all know. I wanted to, first of all, I want to thank you all for this hard work that you've been putting in, working on the budget. I believe that Richard has struck a good balance between raising taxes and cutting expenses in the right places. Although I wasn't able to attend the meeting before, I understand the council directed staff to add the contributions to the community nonprofits, the Shenandoah Valley Christian Ministry, Fonta Flora, the museum, and the tree committee, and to find cuts elsewhere to be able to fund those. I think, Brian, you said you didn't want to pick and choose which ones, but I think this whole budget process is a pick and choose what to fund and what not to. And I would encourage you to fund the Christian ministries. That one is directly benefits the people who are struggling to feed their families, where the other ones are very important to our community, but not, I think not quite as important. And also, I'd like to rescind my request for the tree committee, just part of trying to help you all fund the budget and balance the budget. We can find additional money elsewhere. We will do some more fundraising. And we do have a little bit extra left over from this year's from Circle K budget. That's all I had to do. I wanted to rescind that request. And thank you.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you, Kathy. Last up will be Angela Levine. Levine, excuse me.
Evening steak. They pronounce both ways. Hi, I'm a resident of the Settings, 172 Settings Boulevard. So I want to start with just a quick little story. Last year, my 83-year-old mom had a fall in her home. She split her head open, injured her knee and ankle, and lost consciousness. It was a very scary event for my father. Thankfully, when he called 911, emergency services arrived at their home very quickly, and my mom received the medical care she needed. She was very fortunate and thankfully has made a complete recovery. I worry that if we as a community do not properly fund and house our local police and fire departments, residents of this community in need of similar types of services won't get the same speedy care that my mom received. If we lose necessary personnel due to non-competitive salaries and an untenable housing situation, response times here will suffer, and the safety and medical care of our residents will too. That is why I'm asking you to make no cuts to necessary police and fire staffing and to approve the raises that have been proposed by the interim town manager. I also urge you not to implement a hiring freeze. Instead, I'd like to see you budget using a 5% vacancy rate, which is a common, responsible practice in both government and in the private sector. And this approach recognizes there's normal amounts of turnover while ensuring that departments can continue to recruit and fill those essential positions. In addition, I ask that services such as sanitation, water, and the golf course greens fees be funded by the people who use them. This has been mentioned by other folks too. In our current budget environment, these services should be self-supporting rather than subsidized by a broader tax base. Finally, I am concerned that the town has yet to present a long-term solution for housing our police and fire departments, despite the well-known issues with the current facility. So I urge the council to establish a citizen-led commission or a committee to study options and return to the council with some recommendations for a permanent solution. I think we've got great people in this community that can help with this problem solving. Black Mountain is at risk of losing experienced, dedicated first responders if we continue to underfund public safety and delay action on their facility needs. The decisions that you make in this budget will have real consequences for public safety. I urge you to act now before we're faced with a preventable crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. Since this still is the public hearing and it's open, anyone else wishes to come forward, you may do so. Not seeing anyone rushing. We will go ahead and I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So
Okay, so the public hearing is closed. So discussion of the budget.
I think we need to vote.
You're right. Procedural. All in favor?
Aye.
Now, anybody on the board wish to discuss any particular items on the budget?
I have a few questions for Richard, just based on some of the comments we received. The golf course, with the proposed increase in greens fees, does cover the expenses of the golf course and actually provides a small profit. Is that correct?
yes,
Do you remember how much? 250?
I think it was like $100 and some thousand excess if you,
Uh-huh.
you know, met your fees a year and based on the expenditures that were proposed, it does cover 100% of the cost of the operation and should give you some type of, you know, profit at the end.
Mhm.
These are all the estimates, right, based on
It's
what
all
we could.
estimates, that's based on,
Yeah.
you know.
Projected rounds played.
Yeah.
And then also someone mentioned the 5% vacancy rate. That was something, a vacancy rate was something we had discussed, in particular, I think with the fire department, but it may have been with others as well.
I thought it was
The
PD.
police
sorry,
department
police
was
department,
the one
police
we
department, yes.
proposed or, you know, or gave you as option, because I think as you go in through next year's budget, you probably will have some vacancies. I mean, we're seeing it nationwide, statewide. I mean, every town's having, you know, trouble hiring officers. So I expect you'll continue to see that. Future fire department, you are currently at full staff, and as long as you don't lose anybody, you won't have any vacancies. So.
And we have made a pretty good job in comparing and being competitive with our
Yeah.
Buncombe County neighbors.
Yeah.
But you have to stay with that. That's the thing.
Right.
We have done the increases before in the past and then if you miss, we have to miss 1 or 2 years.
Right.
That's right. Which is why that COLA is critical for keeping us up. But going back to the vacancy rate, is there a reason why you've proposed, kind of landed on freezing that one position instead of?
I gave you all the options. I don't have
Yeah.
a, you know, preference either way. I think they both serve the same purpose. I mean, your goal is to, you know, to save enough money
Yeah.
in that
I
budget.
mean, my recollection was that was what staff preferred was what we adopted with freezing the position rather than the vacancy rate.
We have our, now 30-day, we're proposing period, you know, to review the budgets in greater detail and look for some additional savings, because we have to attend fund balance, and that's the gist of it. We, you know, public should know that in the general fund budget for this year that we're about to complete, if you hit fund balance in $400,000,
Yeah.
it's gonna be, by the end of the day, it's gonna be six.
Probably.
Yeah. So our fund balance is getting very low, because Richard has advised us that council government, no, council government, that's what else is who has to approve any, we can't borrow money without their approval. We really couldn't borrow money with our fund balance. So we have to be very attentive to get it built back up. So that these items to review again, we'll have an opportunity as we look for those, an additional 125 in expenses.
Keep in mind that when you look at this budget here, there's 3 major things that I've been able to pull out from just the past history. In the past 10 years, this tax has grown at 12%. That's to approximately 8,900 people. In that same period of time, the employment of the staff of the town has increased almost 50%. And in that same period of time, the budget has increased almost 100%. So there's got to be cuts. This is not sustainable. It's
Just to add a little context to that, 10 years ago, we didn't have a sanitation department that we do now. And we did also, a lot of those staffing increases came, at least in recent years, into fire and police.
I'm just throwing the figures out.
Yeah, and it's my understanding some of that overall budget increase does reflect increased number of grants that we've gone after and received. For larger projects. So in reflecting what the budget looks like, we do have to account for money that we receive that helps us fund special projects. Is that the same figure you're talking about?
I'm not sure that I agree with you on that. I mean,
Okay.
I know that we have gotten some money, but I don't think that that's why this budget has gone up almost 100%.
Oh, I'm not pointing at a singular reason, but that 100% increase does factor in any grant money that
It could, and it could be in
any given year.
0.1% to 1%. I mean, I don't know what it is, but it's a very small portion of it.
It's also important for the public to understand we have, after the storm, after Helene, we have two things going on. We have all the recovery efforts. And received a good bit, we've received a good bit of money, although we have more to receive than we have. I mean, we're just at the beginning of it. But we'll be moving projects on board. Some of that money that we've received, it's over in the Helene Disaster Fund. It is earmarked to go back into the general fund. They weren't necessarily buildings that were destroyed. There were expenditures for water, if you recall, for not or maybe more, that we provided water, not just for our citizens, but for anybody who came. Same with, we had to pay extra for containers to haul trash because our trucks were destroyed. And debris, miscellaneous expenses, but that'll go back into the general fund. And so we have some funds. At June the 30th, Richard will have our interim town manager, Richard Hicks, will have some budget amendments for us to make that'll clean up some of those things as we get to the end of the fiscal year. But we have all the interaction, the funds and so forth for Helene recovery, which you're looking, 3 to 5 years to get that deployed, maybe more. But we have our general fund, and our general fund it really hasn't changed that much as to what funds our general fund. It's our property taxes, it's sales taxes, it's various utility taxes. If you want to look at your budget, you can go online, look at the budgets. The general fund budgets looks about the same every year, except as Council Member Barry mentioned, not the grant portion, because the American Rescue Act.
Plan.
I knew that last one wasn't right. 2.1 million we received. We repaired the dam and did different things with it. 2 million for that riverbank restoration. Yeah. And so a great deal of money has flowed through. It shows up in the budget saying do this because those grant monies are coming in there, but they're not funding general fund things, they're funding projects. Our general fund, we've grown, as the mayor had said, because of growth in our community, as we all know, we're all aware of that, but also the sales tax in our county, which we get a portion, we get our sales tax, but we get a portion of the counties as well. And our sales tax is really accumulated or increased over the past, the boom years from pandemic on forward when town, if I parking place, right, on the weekends. So we're dealing with those two different things. And our general fund budget for the year that we're ending, it was a tough one. And so we're following on the heels of catching up with that. we can't, we can't hit fund balance to just run the town. We can't do that. It's there for emergencies, but not just to fund salaries and so forth. That's not gonna work as we've had comments already. You have to fund those things. So that's where we are.
Part of what we're also dealing with is as noted in the contributing factors of the shortfall is the increased costs due to deferred maintenance on our facilities and on our aging equipment. And I'd just like to say that small budgets are great until they're not. And then you have to play catch up. And our job is to find the right balance of reducing expenses as much as possible while also looking forward to what the town's needs are today and what they will need to be in 5 years, so that in 5 years we're still not playing catch up. Exactly.
Well, right now, unfortunately, even if we pass this budget with this tax increase and what we see in front of us, future boards are going to have to
Absolutely
raise taxes to raise revenues, whether they raise it through taxes or fees. They're going to have to raise revenues because we're still at a point of where we are living beyond our means. Anybody else got anything?
I did want to make the public aware and looking for the number and like Scott, I know it's somebody may be able to access it in your budget book. Make the public aware of in the water fund, the tipping fees that we have to, well, not the water fund, it's the sanitation fund. The tipping fees that we have to pay to the county for landfill costs. Landfill obviously a tremendously expensive venture that the county provides. But they charge a fee. We have no choice but to pay it. It's based on tonnage, isn't it? It's the way the trucks when they come in. But it's a big number. It is
It's over $200,000 a year, probably 250,000 plus per year.
250.
And
it goes up 50 to 100 a year pretty much. And I'm sure running a landfill with government regulations has to be incredibly expensive. So I'm not throwing rocks at anybody, but we have no choice but to pay it. And that's really where the fees come in, because it's not practical to fund those increases that are increasing that quickly every year with property taxes. It just, you can't hit that target very easily. Well, fish it if you just want to raise an astronomical amount. But there's another issue with the fees, and that is that our not-for-profit neighbors in our community, and I serve on the board of Gibbons Communities. We're thankful for Gibbons Highland Farms, contribute so much to the community, but they don't pay property taxes, but they do pay fees, and so that's how we get some revenue from our not-for-profit neighbors that we would not otherwise get, is by attaching fees to the sanitation pickup. I don't like it either, but it is.
I don't think that does not affect Gibbons Estates. What happened on Gibbons Estates is the fact that Gibbons Estates, when it was Highland Farms and I was mayor last, were there. They do most of their own garbage.
They did then.
Yeah, and so now, and they were charging, and we were charging the individuals that still own property there, because now as these individuals that owns property either moves on or goes away, that property is bought by the estate.
Right, I'm aware of it.
So that it's all a nonprofit
Right.
that's in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these fees that you're speaking about, I'm a little confused as to what it is.
I inquired with the town manager during our budget discussions. I said, do they pay the sanitation fee? And they affirmed that they do. They do pay us. They do pay a sanitation fee, whether it's our fee or one they calculate themselves. I don't know why they don't pay our fee.
Well, we need some more clarity on that.
Yeah.
Because this is,
But they do pay a fee.
because everything that I've done in dealing with them does not they were not paying anything when it came to garbage collection or
Yeah.
sanitation fees.
I believe.
So Richard, if you will clarify that, please.
Because I think we probably need to address it, if not, because they're getting the service and we have to pay. It's against.
Well, they get a lot of services. They get fire protection, police protection,
Yeah.
911. So,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they get a lot of services.
Yeah, well, consider county-wise, look at all the not-for-profits we have just here in our community.
But-
And
but
so
then
it's a big issue.
Yeah, if you'll find that figure, please, and make sure that we have that before we get to the very final, June 30th vote on the,
Yeah.
budget.
In light of Kathy Phillips' comment, for sending the request for the Black Mountain Tree Fund, I don't think we have a breakdown currently for each nonprofit that was originally. My apologies.
It's been much finding it.
Yeah.
Legislative budget.
She said.
It's 4,000. Thank you for that.
Anybody else got anything?
Richard, I would also like clarification around the police department's preference on freezing a position versus the.
Agreed.
It's nice that we have this time to.
You have an option.
When we're not voting tonight, we'll vote on the third.
Right.
Is
Correct.
that right?
Yeah, there's no vote tonight.
I just want to take a moment to thank everyone for coming tonight. I know that well, there are a lot of things that you could do on a Monday at 6 o'clock. And so thank you for being here to witness this process and be part of our democracy. And for everyone who spoke on sharing their thoughts and opinions. I also want to really, from the bottom of my heart, thank our town staff that have looked really closely at their budgets and come with suggestions. Mostly to our interim town manager, and he's relayed these, but to find ways to make the tax dollars that y'all provide the most effective that they can be at providing the services and sustaining the community that we have here. Not to belabor the point, but this has been an excruciating budget process. And I have said that every year that I have served. I go, this is the hardest yet. Well, this is the hardest yet. I don't really know what to say beyond. I'm grateful that we got to this point, and it's still been a heartbreaking budget. So we'll get through this together. And thanks again for being here tonight.
Anybody else wish to make a comment? Before I go into ask for a motion to go into closed session, I just thank you for coming. I just want to say that questioning the budget, questioning departments does not reflect on non-support of that department. We have to look at each line item and question it. If they can show validity of that, fine. But if not, we are up here to represent you and to represent your tax dollars. And if we don't question, then we're not doing our job. I hear a motion.
Well, one thing I would add too, like for the public, before we close and go into executive session, is that over the past 2 or 3 months, I've seen quite a few articles in the Wall Street Journal, and there are municipalities all over the country that are in deep financial trouble. And a great deal of it is they messed up somewhere along the line. But there are incredible, if you wanted to take our budget book and go through with a highlighter and try to find out where mandates pushed down upon local municipalities from Raleigh or from Washington play into these numbers, you would have a lot of yellow marks throughout your mind. Because a lot of what we do, there's just not. Big to, we've been doing it a long time, so it makes it even more important to do what the mayor said. You have to look hard and ask why, because it can get pretty complex.
I can agree with Councilman Harris, but that's not the majority of the budget. These mandates. That's not the majority of this budget.
But it's what, 50-some% personnel.
It's mostly personnel, yeah.
I'm talking about mandates, unfunded mandates.
Yeah, but
That's what
that's what I'm saying, personnel's the main one, so
well,
that's what you got, where the money is.
I'm just saying that unfunded mandates, I'm addressing unfunded mandates that you were talking about.
But pretty significant.
Yes, there are some.
They are.
But it's not 50% of the budget.
But it's still pretty expensive.
Well. All right, do I hear a motion for us to go into closed session?
So moved.
All in favor?